Sanxingdui is trending again, and this time it is not because of the oversized bronze masks or the enigmatic golden scepter that made the world take notice. This time it is because of a rusted lump of iron. Hi guys, today I'll discuss another Sanxingdui mystery. When archaeologists first uncovered this object at the bottom of Sanxingdui's No. 7 sacrificial pit in 2021, it was so corroded that its original shape was completely unrecognizable. Just a shapeless mass of rust, unremarkable among the thousands of artifacts being excavated. It was logged, carefully extracted with its surrounding soil intact, and transported to a laboratory for analysis. What that analysis revealed made the archaeological community explode. The research team faced an immediate problem. The artifact's condition was so poor that standard surface examination was impossible. So, they made a bold call. They cut the object and its surrounding soil block into sections and transported everything to the laboratory, preserving the spatial context that surface excavation would have destroyed. Years of meticulous analysis followed. The results were published in 2026 in the international peer-reviewed journal Archaeological Research in Asia by Professor Li Haichao of Sichuan University and lead corresponding author Ran Honglin of the Sichuan Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology. The artifact, designated K7QW-TIE-1, is approximately 20 centimeters long, slightly longer than a standard unsharpened pencil, and between 5 and 8 centimeters, 2 to 3 inches wide. Its corroded profile suggests an X-like form, possibly a tool or weapon. But what it is made of matters infinitely more than what shape it might have been cut into. It's made of meteoritic iron, metal that fell from space. Now, here is something that deserves very careful attention, because virtually every major English language report on this discovery published a critical figure incorrectly. Multiple prominent archaeological news sites reported the artifact's nickel content as approximately 7.41%, with the iron content exceeding 90%. The figure is wrong. The actual SEM EDS area scan results, published directly by the author's own institution, the Center for Archaeological Science at Sichuan University, confirm iron content of 77.8% and a nickel content of 19.84%. Nearly 3 times higher than what was widely reported in English. Why does that difference matter so much? Meteoritic iron is a naturally occurring alloy containing anywhere from 5% to 65% nickel. In contrast, earth iron found in surface-crust rocks has been oxidized into ores, typically contains little to no native metallic nickel. Iron meteorites are scientifically classified into 3 main categories based on nickel content. The most common type, octahedrites, contain between 6 and 13% nickel. The considerably rarer hexahedrites contain less than 6%. And then there is the rarest category of all, ataxites, which contain 16% nickel or more and represent less than 8% of all known iron meteorites on Earth. At 19.84% nickel, the Sanxingdui artifact is not just a meteoritic iron object. It is almost certainly an ataxite, among the rarest geological materials that existed on this planet. The kind of meteorite that falls to Earth perhaps once in thousands of years in any given region. The ancient Shu people did not simply find a piece of sky metal. They found an extraordinarily rare piece of sky metal. And they recognized it as something apart from anything else in their world. That recognition, made 3,000 years ago, before modern meteoritics existed as a science, tells us something profound about the depth of their empirical knowledge. Recognizing that nickel content alone is unusual is one thing. Proving definitively that the artifact is meteoritic rather than smelted requires something deeper, and the research team found it in the metal's internal crystalline architecture. When scientists examined a fragment of K7QW-TIE-1 under metallographic microscopy, they observed something specific and unambiguous: equiaxed thyroid grains, crystals of pure iron that are uniform in size and completely without deformation. The elements are distributed with extreme uniformity at a micron scale. The fact that the Sanxingdui artifact preserved these perfectly equiaxed grains intact proves that after the ancient Shu people found the meteorite, they did not hammer or forged it while cold. Terrestrial cold working would have crushed, flattened, or elongated those ancient cosmic crystal boundaries. The macrostructure is single-phase thyroid throughout. This grain structure is the explicit fingerprint of iron that cooled in the vacuum of space over millions of years. On Earth, iron cools in hours or days, producing irregular, stressed crystal formations. When iron was buried deep inside a massive, thermally insulating parent asteroid, it cools almost imperceptibly slowly over geological timescales, allowing perfect, uniform crystals to form without deformation or directional stress. Combined with the high nickel content and the microzone uniformity, the Sanxingdui artifact was directly confirmed to be a pure meteoritic iron product. No Bronze Age furnace could produce this structure. The equiaxed thyroid grain pattern is not a suggestion of extraterrestrial origin. It's proof, written in the metal's own crystalline memory, preserved for 3,000 years, and finally read by a scanning electron microscope in the Sichuan University laboratory in 2026. Here is where the Sanxingdui discovery connects with something far larger than Chinese archaeology, and where a pattern emerges that the standard news coverage has completely missed. The ancient Shu people were not alone in treating sky-fallen metal as sacred. Separated by thousands of miles and centuries of time, cultures that never contacted each other arrived at the same instinctive conclusion about meteoritic iron. In Tutankhamun's tomb, the Egyptian pharaoh, who died around 1323 BC, making him roughly contemporary with the Sanxingdui civilization, archaeologists found an iron dagger of extraordinary quality sheathed beside the mummified body. For decades, its unusual properties puzzled researchers. In 2016, X-ray fluorescence analysis confirmed it was forged from meteoritic iron. Its 11% nickel and 0.6% cobalt ratios, matching known iron meteorites precisely. The most powerful ruler in the ancient world was buried with a blade made from a fallen star. The Hittites, the great empire of Bronze Age Anatolia, used a dedicated term for meteoric iron in their cuneiform texts as black iron of the sky. Their earliest iron objects predate widespread smelting and consistently show meteoritic composition. In Bronze Age Spain, archaeologists have recovered 2 meteoritic iron artifacts in the treasure of Villena, a bracelet and a hollow decorative sphere, made between 1400 and 1200 BC. The metal worked into ornamental shapes, treated not as a functional material, but as something precious, otherworldly, and inherently meaningful. Advanced mass spectrometry revealed they were wrought from extraterrestrial iron rather than terrestrial iron, characterized by roughly 5.5% nickel, significantly higher than the less than 1% nickel levels in earthly iron ores. Different civilizations, 3 continents, no contact with each other. They separately recognized meteorites and reached the same conclusion. Metal that fell from the sky was sacred. It represented power and prestige. It was a physical connection to whatever existed beyond the visible world. The ancient Shu people placed their piece of sky metal in a sacrificial pit alongside bronze sacred trees, jade artifacts, and elephant ivory, the most racially charged objects in their entire civilization. They did not know about Tutankhamun. They had never encountered the Hittites. But they understood, as those distant cultures understood, that this material was categorically different from anything else they possessed, that it came from somewhere else, and that it deserved to be treated accordingly. That conversions, independent, geographically separated, arriving at the same conclusion is not a coincidence. It's a window into something fundamental about how ancient human minds understood the boundary between the earthly and the divine. This artifact is the earliest meteoritic iron object discovered in southwest China and the largest known example of its kind from China's entire Bronze Age. But its significance extends beyond those superlatives. Across China's Central Plains, the heartland of Shang Dynasty civilization, archaeologists have found meteoritic iron used in a special and consistent way, as small inserts or cutting edges within bimetallic composite weapons, combined with the bronze to produce a harder, more effective blade. Practical, functional, the sky metal was valued for its superior hardness and incorporated into earthly tools. The Sanxingdui artifact follows none of this logic. It is monometallic, pure meteoritic iron, with no bronze component, no composite construction. Its axe-like form is noted by the researchers, but its function remains generally uncertain given its poor preservation. What is certain is where it was found, in a sacrificial pit, alongside bronze sacred trees and ivory tusks, Sanxingdui's most ceremonially significant objects. The Central Plains people incorporated sky metal into weapons. The Shu people placed it among offerings. That is not a difference of degree. It's a difference of worldview. The Sanxingdui civilization appears to have understood meteoritic iron not as a better version of an earthly material, but as a substance of an entirely different category, one that belonged to the realm of the sacred rather than the arsenal of the warrior. The questions that still have no answers. This discovery does not resolve Sanxingdui's 4 great mysteries. If anything, it deepens them. Where did it come from? The Sanxingdui culture appears in the archaeological record with sophisticated bronze casting already fully developed, no primitive early stages, no visible developmental sequence, no gradual improvement traceable through the excavated layers. Combined now with evidence of sophisticated empirical materials knowledge, the ability to identify and work on a textile meteorite, without any modern scientific framework, the question of where the civilization's knowledge originated becomes more pressing, not less. Why are their bronze casting techniques so advanced? The Sanxingdui bronzes demonstrated technical mastery of large-scale lost wax casting and composite sculpture assembly that challenges established narratives about Bronze Age capability in southwestern China. The meteoritic iron finding confirms this technical sophistication extended well beyond bronze into the identification of extraterrestrial materials. Why did it bury so many treasures in the ground? The sacrificial pit at Sanxingdui contained objects that were deliberately broken, burnt, and interred, not stored or hidden, but ritually destroyed and offered. Their rarest sky metal was placed among those offerings. Whatever ceremony or crisis prompted those acts of ritual destruction, it was important enough to include their most cosmologically charged possession. Where did they go? The Sanxingdui civilization vanished from the archaeological record as abruptly as it appeared. No conquest narrative, no gradual decline, no clear successor culture directly inheriting its traditions. A civilization sophisticated enough to forge many complex bronze objects, identify attack site meteorites, and treat them as sacred does not simply forget how to exist. Something ended them. We still do not know what. Every time Sanxingdui makes a new discovery, the excitement and the frustration arrive together. Because this civilization continuously delivers surprises that raise more questions than they answer. 3,000 years ago, while the Shang people cast bronze in the Central Plains, the ancient Shu people in the Sichuan Basin found a piece of the rarest material on Earth, recognized it for what it was, possibly shaped it with their hands, and placed it among their most sacred offerings. They did not know what nickel is. They had no word for oxide. But they understood something that took modern science until 2026 to confirm. They knew this metal was not from here. The specific meteorite group this artifact belongs to has not yet been identified. The research team has confirmed that inquiry as their next investigation. When those results are published, we'll be here to discuss it. And if what has come before is any indication, whatever they find next will surprise us all over again. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can support me on Patreon or on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate your support. This is Curious Being. I'm Tina. Thanks for watching and see you next time.